does he believe the lies that he tells? Like when he lays his head on the pillow at night, has he convinced himself that the election was stolen from him? Or does he know it's bullshit when he says it?
Well, shockingly, the answer is both. The main thing to know about Donald, and I'm sure you have both sussed this out, is that he believes he deserves everything. He deserves to win. He deserves to be treated better than everybody else. He deserves all of the money, etc. And that means that he'll win. He'll take the win no matter what. In other words, if he can only win by lying, cheating, and stealing, that's okay because he deserves it.
Right.
So initially, he totally knows it's bullshit. But he kind of gaslights himself over time. And that's because the alternative is conceding that he's a loser somehow, which is the worst thing you could be in my family. So in order to protect his very fragile ego, he actually buys so thoroughly into the lie that he does believe it on some level, which is why he can be convincing to people who are willing to believe him in the first place. Like the rest of us can tell when he's lying and we're never going to buy it. But the people at his rallies are going to believe anything he says. So if he can inject the lie with even a little bit of authenticity, he'll do it. So, a lot of this is operating on the unconscious level, but the truth of the matter is he both knows and doesn't allow himself to know, which is kind of confusing to him more than anybody else, actually.
So I have a question. So we live in what would be considered the Bible Belt, and I don't know that many Trump supporters, but the ones that I have met and encountered are diehard evangelicals, okay? Yeah. And that seems to go hand in hand. The punitive nature of evangelicalism, where it's a punitive religion. If you don't do this, you're going to burn forever. It really seems to set the psychological soil for an authoritarian like Donald Trump, who also, his politics are very punitive. And that's the link that I have. But here's what I want to know. Is he even religious?
No. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I mean, you would think he is because,
I don't think he is. I mean, I don't get that vibe from him. I think it's such bullshit that he panders. My mother she's a diehard liberal, and she was so relieved when all the evangelicals came out and started supporting him, because she said, finally, they are exposing themselves for the hypocrites that I always knew that they were. And so it was a relief to her because, here he is, the porn star, the Playboy bunny, the racism, all this stuff is not very Jesus-y, if you will. And so then when I see all of these just diehard evangelicals that are also equal parts diehard Trumpers, I'm like, I don't even think this guy's a Christian at all.
Yeah. And and I don't care. I mean, I one of the biggest problems we're facing right now is the erosion between church and state.
Totally agree.
He doesn't believe in God. And again, I don't care about that either, but you said it exactly right. The problem is that he panders and lies to those people on the religious right, mostly white evangelicals, and they have so much power in politics in this country that's the danger. I mean, we've seen this shift, like the white evangelicals are complaining that, the teachings of Jesus are too soft. They're literally turning away from them, which should tell you everything you need to know about what's happening in the white evangelical community. But I mean, we don't really need to look at it further than the fact that they have chosen Donald Trump, of all people, to be their patron saint, if you will.
Right.
That's the question I don't get. How do they reconcile this man that grabs women by the privates, who cheats on his wives with zero guilt about it, who rapes women, who does all of these things? How do they reconcile that with the evangelical side of the purity culture and all the things that they say are so important to them?
all religions have very wily ways of getting what they want, by which I mean there's always an explanation. God works in mysterious ways.
Right.
Or God has chosen this imperfect vessel to test us.
That's the one that gets me.
There are always ways to make sure that the religious view is preferenced, no matter how hypocritical it might seem. So Donald is their imperfect vessel. And I guess they're also, and the unspoken part is that he represents their desire to be cruel, their desire to trample on people less fortunate, their desire to be supreme over other races, over other religions, what have you. It's really kind of terrifying.
I'll tell you what I've had it with.